Welcome to Business as a Magical Practice, where your business is the vehicle for your self-integration and soul evolution. My name is Sam Garcia, and I'm the founder of Dirty Alchemy Digital Marketing. And I'll be guiding you through how you can use your business as a spiritual practice and what magical businesses are doing to hit their goals and change the world. Together, we'll be relating the mystical to the world of business so that our work can unite spirit and matter, shadow and light, conscious and unconscious. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Business as a Magical Practice. This is your lovely host, Sam Garcia, as you've heard from the intro. And if you've been around for a while, you probably know that this is going to be a very special episode, which is something we do every 11 episodes, and we're at 133. So these are more behind the scenes, more candid, unscripted episodes. And you guys sent in a lot of questions for this one. So we're really going to be focusing on listener questions this week. And so let's just dive in. Our first question is, what are your go-to thoughts when clients don't seem to be coming in? And I love this question because it actually redirects back to you. So step one, what are your thoughts? What are the thoughts that are coming up when clients don't seem to be coming in? And I'm talking about the dark thoughts that are pre-self-coaching, unintentional thoughts, like no one likes me, this isn't going to work, my offer sucks. Like, what are the things that are hanging out in the background of your brain when you think of why people, like, what is the darker reasoning by why you think clients aren't coming in? And this is so important to do because if you don't look at shadow thoughts or what's happening in your subconscious and you just let it, you don't look at it, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's like my favorite metaphor that I tend to use when it comes to shadow work or working with the unconscious is like you're standing in a pile of poop and all you're doing is staring up at the sun and wondering why it smells like shit. And what you actually have to do is like look down at the pile of poop that you're standing in and clean it up or compost it. That's even better. So that's the first step, is like actually brain dump on what thoughts come up when clients don't seem to be coming in. And next step can be like, what are the switches of each of these? What are the opposites of these? Or what are the deeper truth behind these? Is it true that your offer sucks? Probably not. If you're selling it, I assume your offer doesn't suck. You probably have testimonials from people working with you. So what are the deeper truth behind these? And one thought that I like in response to this is there are 10 people ready to pay me right now already in my orbit. There are 10 people ready to pay me now already in my orbit. So if you believed that, what actions would you take? If you really believe there are 10 people following you on Instagram or are friends of friends or are on your email list or watching your YouTube videos, whatever, they're already in your orbit and they're ready to pay you now. They either haven't heard of your offer or they need to hear that one next thing or they need a direct reach out. I don't know. Like, what actions would you take if you believed that there are already 10 people ready to pay you now in your orbit? Okay, so on to our next question. I want to open a new container, but I hate launching. Should I go right to Evergreen? So this is so interesting. And I get this one a lot. So you have a new offer, you want to put it out into the world, but you hate launching. Should you go to Evergreen? And 99% of the time, my answer is no, unless you already have a massive following. Okay. So what would happen if you put out an offer without launching? Like, you just straight up, like, you would have to, no matter what, you're going to have to put together a funnel of some sort. And maybe that's what, like, you're asking to get around as well. But I've seen so many people have this graveyard essentially on their website of their evergreen offers that no one buys. They have this evergreen offer that's open all the time and it just sits there. And no one buys. Or like maybe you get one sale a month. And this is so common. So when it comes to evergreen offers, you either need to be Launching in the sense that you're doing occasional promotions for it, whether there's a special bonus or a discount or something that's promoting it, and which is essentially launching. Or you need to have a funnel in place, an evergreen funnel in place that is heavily automated so that it is getting people thinking about it. It catches new people. It takes them through a sales process, which is launching. So it's pretty much an automated launch is what an evergreen funnel is. Or you need to be promoting it all the time. Because I do have clients that have evergreen programs that are open all the time, and they are promoting it all the time. Very, very actively promoting it all the time. So there's this misconception around evergreen offers of like, once I put it up, people will just find it and buy it. And it's just not true. When such a huge part of online business is marketing, you're going to have to just decide where you want to be putting your energy into. But let's say you are the person who's like, what I mean by this question is I want to have an evergreen funnel. I want to set up an automated evergreen funnel that is attracting people into it, that is taking them through a sales process. And even then, which I think is a brilliant idea, I think there are tons of people who make this actually work. We are working on one right now, which is so fun on the back end of Dirty Alchemy. But what you want to be doing, even before the evergreen funnel, is to launch it. If you have a brand new offer or a variation of an old offer that you're turning into evergreen, but you've like slightly changed the name or slightly changed the offer, you do want to launch it again. Which is exactly what you don't want to hear. I know. But what happens when you just turn on an evergreen funnel without launching it first is you haven't organically tested it. So when you launch, you get this immediate direct feedback on subject line, on email subject lines, on posts, on Instagram graphics, on videos that is so valuable to bring in. And yes, it is this input of energy and time into actually creating the launch. But it is the fastest way of getting your evergreen funnel up successfully. Because the alternative is you untested, putting up, like writing all the emails in the email sequence and recording the webinar and setting up an application or whatever what is actually involved in your funnel. And you turn it on and it's not working. And you have no idea where in the process it isn't working. This also happens with Facebook ads. Like I have people coming to me who want us to run Facebook ads for them. And my go-to thing is like, let's go back to your launches or to your organic posts and look at what posts did the best. What got the most engagement, what got the most conversions, and let's use those. Because the biggest issue with Facebook ads is people just going blind into Facebook ads and like starting something brand new. And they waste so much money when I think the true power of Facebook ads or Instagram ads or any kind of ads is amplifying the power of what's already working. Because it can just, maybe you have more money than you do time or health or whatever the reason is, and you'd rather just put money into Facebook ads to test things out really quickly, and you'd rather spend money than spend time, which is totally fine. But for most people, the best way is to test things out organically and then just amplify what's already working with a Facebook ad campaign or with an evergreen funnel. So I still think you should launch. Of course, if your intuition is like, fuck Sam, she doesn't know what she's talking about, like follow your own guidance, follow your own authority in your human design. But 9 times out of 10, launching first so that you can see what works and what doesn't work and make really intentional decisions from there is what's going to help you set up an evergreen funnel that works well from the beginning and that makes your evergreen offer sell consistently. Okay, tangent done. Or rant done, I should say. So our third question is, what are your favorite techniques as a neurodiverse person that help you in business? Thank you for asking. This is such a fun question. Last week's episode, I had Robin Langford on the podcast, and the whole podcast was on neurodiversity in business and entrepreneurship, because we are both neurodiverse. We share our stories, we share how we are implementing it in our businesses and all that jazz. So highly recommend listening to the last episode of this podcast. It was episode 132, and it came out on, oh gosh, I can do math. August 25th. The 25th of August, there we go, of 2022. And beyond that, just some quick bullet points here is calendaring. So I was diagnosed with ADHD recently, and you can hear that whole story in that last episode. And I've realized that a lot of neurodiverse people protest against having a calendar or having a set schedule so much, when it is oftentimes the thing that can help them the most. So when I feel really overwhelmed by life, by everything that has to get done, by all of my ideas, actually doing project management and calendaring, which again is like something I'm sure you in your body, you're like, fuck calendaring. It's like, I don't know, whatever your resistance is, or like the feelings in your body. It can give you so much relief and so much calm to actually have things in the calendar. So my process is very, very simple. I write out everything that's on my mind, like task, item by item, write out everything that's on my mind that has to get done. And then next to each thing, I write the amount of time that I expect that thing to take. So write copy for sales page, 2 hours. Create sales page graphics, 1 hour. Respond to emails, 30 minutes. Watch clients training, 15 minutes, like in whatever the things are. And then I go to my digital calendar. I just use Google Calendar, and I have one calendar set up that is my actual meetings on my calendar. And I use Calendly for people to schedule with me. So I have just hard meetings on my calendar that is connected with Calendly so that people can add on. Then I have a secondary calendar, because Google Calendar allows you to have multiple calendars within one calendar. That is my to-do list calendar. And I will then take everything from my list that has to get done. And before doing this, I'll say what actually has to get done this week. Because a lot of things don't have to get done this week. They might be pulling on your brain, but they don't actually have to get done this week. So first clarify what has to get done this week, what can wait. Then I go to my calendar and I actually put in each task on a day, on a time slot, and you'll quickly see if you were stressed out just because it was stuck in your head and there's actually a ton of space and so much extra time to do everything, or you're going to see that there's not enough time in the week to do everything you're expecting of yourself. And that is so interesting. It means that you are putting together a timeline that's just not humanly possible, or you need to hire someone to help you, or you need to start cutting the fat of what is actually moving the needle in your business or not. So back to my calendar. Actually putting things in on a day, on a time, it can feel extremely masculine. It can feel extremely OCD or whatever, but actually seeing it on your calendar and then following through on your calendar, it gives me so much relief. And as someone with ADHD, I can easily go throughout a day and find a million things. There are a million things to do that matter and don't matter and are for passion projects and just side tangents you can go on that are so easy to go down. But if ahead of time you plan, these are actually the things that will move my business forward, I need to make time for these, you'll get to it where at the end of the day or at the end of the week, you can look back and be like, wow, I've moved my business so far forward. I've helped my business go so much further forward. And you don't have this sense of wow, I was so busy. I spent so much time in my business and I still don't feel like anything happened. Because I've met so many people where they get to the end of the day and they feel exhausted and they spent 8 hours on something, but they can't even tell you what that something was because they were just going with the fires that came. An email came in and now I have to do this thing, or someone texted me and blah, 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 and you go down these little tangents. So it's so important to prioritize, first identify what's actually important in your business that will get you to your goals, whether that's a specific revenue goal or a client goal or a project getting done, and then calendaring time to do it and then following through on it. So that's the one. Another favorite technique as a neurodiverse person is my dogs. I work from home and I have 2 little dogs who just hang out with me all day long. And I find it so soothing for my nervous system. I think everyone should have animals. Like, for real, I think that it makes such a huge impact on my life and on my nervous system and my ability to find peace and joy. So animals as one of my favorite techniques. Another one is rolling with my own energy without shame, even if my energy is not neurotypical. So I don't know what you can point a finger at, whether it's my natural energy or because I'm a human design manifester, or if I have ADHD or whatever. We can put a million labels for the various things. But I go through periods of tons of energy and tons of excitement and tons of passion, and then it drops. And I go through periods of being so excited about one thing and wanting to like literally spend 20 hours straight just focusing, or close myself away in a room for an entire week and just work on this one thing. And then there's weeks when I like can't do anything. And that's one of the main reasons I started my own business, because I like don't have the body or mind or spirit or whatever to work a 9 to 5. My energy is just super inconsistent. So giving myself permission to actually follow my own energy, follow my own excitement, has been a huge, huge win for me in terms of being a favorite technique as a neurodiverse person. And what that can look like, if this really resonates with you, is like if you're someone who gets suddenly insanely excited about a project, but you have other things that are important in your life, is actually looking at it. Don't immediately go to, well, oh, I can't do it. Oh, whatever. Like, take a second and maybe talk it out with someone who loves you in your life and respects your uniqueness, and figure out, like, maybe you can put everything else aside for a week. And just like, maybe you want to try and write a book in a month, and like you can go rent a cabin and just go off and take a writer's retreat for a month. Or maybe you can plan to do that a few months from now. Or like, what's the bare minimum things that has to be done in your business and life to maintain healthy relationships and, I mean, health in general. Like, a non-negotiable for me is walking my dogs every day. Or like, in a non-negotiable is like putting out a podcast every week and sending out emails. So there's a certain number of non-negotiables for me in my business that have to get done either on a monthly basis or a weekly or a daily basis. And being clear on that, I can see how much wiggle room I have to go dive in to unexpected passion projects or creative portals, as I like to call them, and I guess give myself over to them. I guess is a multi-level thing. Get clear on what are your non-negotiables, like what's the bare minimum you have to do and what's less than that, right? Like, eating healthy for me is a bare minimum. Walking my dogs is a bare minimum. Checking my email every day, because I work with clients that a part of our business is agency. So like actually getting back to clients on a daily basis is a bare minimum for me. But there's a lot of other things that have wiggle room. And there's a lot of things that you can have strategy around. Like, I batch create podcast episodes. I batch create YouTube videos. Usually on a monthly basis, I'll create all of those for the entire month. And then there's so much more spaciousness after that. Okay, so that was rolling with my own energy. Another favorite technique as a neurodiverse person is being super aware of how food and drinks and lifestyle affects you. Because I feel like a totally different person if I sleep 8 hours versus 6 hours. Like, if I consistently sleep 6 or 7 hours, my anxiety spikes hardcore and I get all panicky. Where if I sleep 8 hours a night consistently, I feel so much more stable, and it really, really affects me. Also, coffee really affects me. Alcohol affects me. Skipping meals, sugar. And not to say I don't consume any of those. It's just like in times of higher stress, I need to know what things to be more aware of and where I can, if I know that I'm going through a stressful period, I know that I need to drink less alcohol. I need to sleep more. I need to have incredibly balanced, vegetable heavy cooked meals and have no sugar. Where like if I'm in a really low stress time of life, I can like play around more with stimulants or depressants. And I honestly didn't know that until I sensitized myself. Like it wasn't until my early 20s that I did a major elimination diet and then reintroduced things and realized how strongly they affected me. So if you don't think you're sensitive to things, I challenge you or I invite you to explore, like, can you do an elimination diet and then reintroduce things and actually realize how strongly various things affect you? Because it blew my mind, and it actually makes me more resilient, because if I know the things that throw me off balance, then this is where mastery can actually come in. Because if you know what throws you off balance in times of lower stress, you can play around with those because you're already centered, where times of higher stress, you're like, no, I need to balance myself as much as possible. Okay, and there's one more point here around a favorite technique. One really, really, really huge thing for me as a neurodiverse person is the power of externalizing systems. Because and I'm not an expert in neurodiversity. Like, I feel like I'm just learning. I'm just getting started in learning. But it's interesting as someone who's diagnosed so late in life and realizing how much I've been overcompensating in various ways, or different ways I intuitively changed my business in order to support my neurodiversity, and being like, wow, I was so inherently brilliant to do this. To mitigate lack of executive functions. But externalizing systems has been massive. I mean, I have an entire mastermind program called the Alchemy Business Accelerator. It's the whole reason I started it and put things behind it, is because of the profound nature of externalizing systems and externalizing energies. And this is because if you're a creative person, like, I'm sure you will resonate with this. I want to spend as much time as possible in creativity. I want to spend as much time as possible in this passionate state of what excites me. And when you have to spend a lot of time in the mundane, it can really, really drag you down. So with externalizing systems, and that just means like, instead of holding a to-do list in your hand and being the manager of your business, how do we actually delegate that out, either to people or to systems or to technology? And what that has looked like is I actually have a team that helps me, and people who are completely responsible for social media, people who are completely responsible for getting the podcast out, people completely responsible for doing certain level of client work, where my hands don't touch it at all. Like, I don't have to even think about it a smidgen. And then also help from technology. So I use Calendly as a scheduling system so that I don't have to do the back and forth between people to find a time in my calendar. And I can decide ahead of time what days are off and what weeks are off that people can't schedule with me, instead of being like, well, I guess I'll take a call on Mondays, when I generally take Mondays off of meeting. They're not meeting days for me. And also with this is automating project management. And I see this so much with entrepreneurs, is they deeply, deeply desire someone else to manage them. That's why having an OBM or a COO is such a common first hire for entrepreneurs. Is they just want to relinquish control in some ways. They want I think of it like your parent who's telling you what to do, and there's so much safety in that, where, oh, I don't have to worry about these things. They're just telling me what to do and I just have to show up. And you can actually yes, you can hire people to do that, but you can also use technology for this. So I'm not desperately, but I'm totally addicted to Asana, which is the project management platform we use for everything in our business, where I can think things through and set up a system one time and then just set it to repeat. And other people are doing it. Asana is pretty much the project manager, and I don't have to manage the business. It reminds me that to do my weekly energetic practices for like saging my office. And it reminds me that once a month I need to start thinking about scripts for the next month's podcasts. So I've completely externalized management of the business, where there is this level of control of like, I'll set up the first system and I'll be a part of the creation and design of the first system of how I want to do things that are completely aligned with my energy. And then this project management platform is managing the rest. So if you are someone who wants to learn how to do this for your own business, I encourage you to apply for the Alchemical Business Accelerator. It is our 6-month container for pretty much setting up a business that can run without you, which is really a scalable foundation for 7 figures, because you can get to multiple 6 figures or even 7 figures with a lot of hustle and doing it on your own. But to hire the right team, to set up the right systems is going to make it so you don't have to actually hustle towards it. And the link is down below for that, or I think it's just thedirtyalchemy.com/apply. Okay, so moving on to our next question. What are the biggest lifestyle/habit changes that have supported you in having a spacious business? And so many things, but there are 2 main ones I wanted to bring up today. The first one is giving up coffee for a period of time. And the second one is challenging myself to cut down on hours for a period of time. And the reasons for this is coffee or caffeinated things can pretty much help you, force you to do things you don't want to do, which, I mean, honestly, some aspects of business, sometimes in business, you have to do things you don't want to do. Like they are required. You either hire someone to do them for you, or you do them yourself, but usually you have to be involved in some ways. And coffee can help you do that because it's just like this like happy pill motivator to do it. But it is this like slippery slope that can pull you away from your intuition, and suddenly your entire business is comprised of stuff you aren't inherently motivated by. And because you drink coffee every day or caffeine multiple times a day or whatever it is, it doesn't matter because you're like pretty much whipping a horse to keep riding. So me giving up coffee, and I'm currently in a period of drinking coffee again. And I do find I can like bring balance in around it. But I gave it up for however a certain amount of months. And it was so illuminating of the clients that I needed to drop, or the tasks I needed to give up, or people I needed to hire because I couldn't do these things anymore. Because I couldn't rely on caffeine to actually get me through it. Like I just had zero natural motivation to work on it. It was just so mind-blowing. So I do actually recommend people give up coffee or caffeine, because it also forces you to get clear on what actually needs to get done, or what only you can get done. And that's where the second half of this comes in. I go through periods of forcing myself to work only 10 to 20 hours a week. When you intentionally cut down on hours, and I track my time religiously, and I have for years. I use Toggl, Toggl, and I just start the timer when I start working and stop the timer when I stop working. And when I intentionally cut down my hours, you are forced to look at what is actually needed to get done versus what you are just filling time. Because when you can only work 10 or 20 hours a week, you're only allowing yourself to work 10 or 20 hours a week, you only have so much time to do things. So the stuff that doesn't matter has to be pushed back. It has to. And it's really uncomfortable. I'm not going to lie. It's like not my favorite time periods. I love actually like having spacious amounts of time to work on things. But when you are intentionally doing this, you just get so clear of how much you are just filling time of how your body is somatically used to working 30 or 40 hours a week, so you're just filling time. And it's just, I don't work 10 or 20 hours a week in general, just because I really love my work and I have a lot of energy. And if I don't, I'll end up starting to tinker with my husband's business, or like my side project the other month was like starting to write a book. Again, other creatives out there, like, you understand this. But between giving up coffee and forcing yourself to work less, like, you get so clear on what you're inherently motivated by, and what that can be such a clear indicator of what you're meant to be doing on this planet. So I'm not going to lie, it's super uncomfortable to do, but it will set you up to having a more spacious business. And obviously another part of this is building a life outside of your business, because if your business is the only fun part of your life, or your only creative part of your life, you are just going to become a workaholic. So building friendships outside of business, like creating hobbies, doing dance classes, or I don't know, learning how to surf, or taking a flower arranging class, whatever. Actually spending the time to build friendships and finding new friends that you want to spend a ton of time with, right? There's so many ways. And that's really what is going to motivate you to have a more spacious business. Because so many people I talk to, they love their business so much, and I do too. Believe me, I do too. But if you don't build a life outside of your business, you're not going to have a very fulfilling life. I'm not going to lie, and you're going to become a workaholic. I'm sorry, I'm usually more political than this, but we're being honest today, I guess, or less Gemini rising, where I can see all the sides. Okay, our final question for today. I am stuck writing my sales page. What are your strategies for when you just don't know what to say? Okay, and we're going to rapid fire this because I have a lot of ideas for this. So first thing first is do thought work. So do a brain dump about your feelings about writing a sales page, your thoughts about your clients, your thoughts about your offer. Like, try and get all the ugly stuff out about it that you don't like, and how it feels so draining, and you're so resentful that you have to sell anything. Why aren't people just buying without a sales page? And you're sick of your clients, and you actually hate the people you're currently working with. I don't know. Like, what are the really ugly thoughts that are coming up? And actually address those. Some of those have very practical solutions of, I actually need to identify a different type of client, or make non-negotiables and be more strict about who I allow to be a client. Or are there things about your offer to make it feel more juicy? And are there ways to think about your sales page so that it is this fun invitation and this creative pursuit instead of this draining thing? Another piece is, are you carving out enough time? Because I find that for myself, that if I don't have enough time to do things, I don't allow enough time to do things, it becomes this super stressful thing. Like, if I set aside an entire afternoon to work on a sales page, where I turn off my phone and I have no distractions, and I put on fun music, and I get out the mental clarity essential oils and whatever, and actually make a mood out of it, it can become this fun experience. Versus if I'm like, I don't have any time and I have to write a sales page, it will make it almost impossible for me to think of anything to say. A thought you can play with is, I have a brilliant brain. I love this one. Or my brain comes up with brilliant ideas. Or I am brilliant. And what actions would you take around your sales page? How would you face your sales page if you believed that? I'm just rapid firing through these. For my fellow writers, just remind yourself that you love writing and that you're a good writer. I know not everyone feels this way. So if you do feel this way, if you resonate with like, I'm a good writer and I enjoy writing, then remind yourself of that and make sure you have enough time to like indulge in the writing process and go into it as this creative, fun, juicy thing. This actually happened to me recently when a few months ago. I planned to write a bunch of Instagram posts or emails, and I got sick. And so it pushed me back. I was planning to do it ahead of time, and I was so on top of things, and then I got sick. So it pushed me back a week. And then it got to the day that I had to start sending stuff out, or I had planned to start sending things out. And I had set aside 2 hours to write a bunch of posts, and I was still resisting it. Or in my head, I was just in this mental spiral of resistance around writing. And I very, very simply went back to the thought that, wait, I actually really like writing. I actually love writing Instagram posts. I do. I see it as this creative thing, and I get to share, and I get to teach, and I get to whatever. And in the span of an hour and a half, I wrote 7 entire emails, which is it ended up being 15 minutes per email when I calculated it, which is so fast. And it was only because I let go of my resistance around it. And I just went into this energy of creation and excitement. So I know that's going to resonate with someone out there. It's something that I've since having that experience, I come back to again and again of oh wait, I'm resisting something I actually love. Okay, next tip when you're stuck writing a sales page is start with a template. You can actually start with a template, and that can look like, if you're in one of our programs, we give templates for stuff like that. You can also find a sales page that you really like and use that as they start with a punchy headline and then go into an about section, and then they get to the pricing table. You can use someone else's sales page as a template, but that really helps. And some people try speaking instead of writing. Okay? You are allowed to do this. So instead of just sitting down in front of a blank sheet of paper, come up with a few questions. That's something I love doing is I outline what the sections I want for a sales page, we have a template that we use. So I start with a template, and I have questions to spark each element of the sales page, each section of the sales page. And then I will take out my voice memo app and just start verbally answering the questions. And then we have it transcribed, and we use that as the first draft, is a really, really rough draft for a sales page. We've done it that way, and that's worked really well. So if you like speaking instead of sitting down and writing, or you think that'll help get you out of the stuck spot, try that out. And my last quick answer when you're stuck writing a sales page is challenge yourself to the first draft and use a timer. Because often we're trying to edit and make things perfect the first time around, when actually there's going to be a lot of editing and a lot of rounds. You're not going to have it perfect the first time. And when you can let go of the perfectionism, you will most likely flow more easily. So I've recently found a technique, which is apparently a very old technique. And I think I've mentioned it. I've definitely mentioned it on a podcast before. Now I'm remembering it. Where you can, and I've used it for other things, not necessarily a sales page, but it can totally apply for a sales page, is you get out a timer and you're okay, for this section of the sales page, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to do my first draft. And you start the timer for 10 minutes. And for me, that's a huge motivator of I got to beat the clock. And even if you end up writing for longer than that, it's a great way to bypass your resistance. Because so much of this is just about resistance. All of these techniques are really around, how do you get around your resistance to writing the sales page? Because you already know what to say. You are such an expert. You know exactly who your people are and how to talk to them. So you just have to get past the resistance. And by the way, if you want to create a sales page that sucks in your audience like a magical vortex so they don't hesitate before enrolling, you need my free guide. We have created this epic free guide called The 5 Secrets to a Spellbinding Sales Page that gets your ideal client sold on your offer fast. And it's a really straightforward 5-step guide that is going to show you how to write a sales page that seduces your soulmate clients with every word. And it's going to help you clarify your message so that you can be sure that you're giving your audience everything they need to make an empowered decision to work with you. I just got this love note this morning from someone who downloaded the guide, and it made me so happy. Again, this is a free guide, and someone sent a love note for it. And she wrote, I just wanted to message and say thank you so much for your 5 secrets of a spellbinding sales page. I've taken different paths of education around sales and niche marketing, but I still would find myself staring dumbly at a blank page every time it would come time to start an actual sales page. This mostly meant I didn't bother making sales pages. Since downloading this beautiful PDF, I've systematized my own brainstorming process, and everything has become easy and straightforward and fun. And it's super helpful to have a visual written thing to come back to and reorient my ADHD brain like, wait, why was I doing this? What was I doing anyway? Oh yeah, I'm on that why. The little snippets and details you include about each of the important pieces really helps it all make sense in a cohesive, easy to access way in my nervous system. So this is from a totally free guide, you guys. So definitely download that. Link is in the show notes. And if you have to type it in, then the link is... what is the actual link? learn.thedirtyalchemy.com/opt-in. That's not something you're going to remember. Just go to the show notes. Link's in the show notes, or you can go to our homepage, thedirtyalchemy.com, and you'll see it. And it's an epic guide. I can't wait for you guys to take it in because it's really, really good. And that's it for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the listener questions. I actually love answering questions, so feel free to send in more questions for our next very special episode, and we'll make sure to answer those on the next one, which will be episode 144. Next week, we have another great episode that is honestly off topic from what I usually do, but it's pretty much a public service announcement from myself for anyone who is self-employed or owns a business that wants to buy a home in the next 2 years, because it is totally, you need to start making decisions and taking actions now, very specific decisions and actions now, if you're self-employed and you want to buy a home in the next 2 years. So it's pretty much an episode that I felt called to record as like a message I wish I could have told my 2 years ago self. So look forward to that if you're in that camp, and I'll see you next week.